organizers for the invitation, and to everyone here for the chance to share my work. Please excuse me my English. I'm today very cold, and I hope I can finish this presentation. Over the past 2 decades, I've employed low-level EMG to evaluate muscle tone in thousands of patients affected by multiple incontinence. This presentation emphasizes objective muscle tension assessment by dynamic sEMG as the basis for effective diagnosis and treatment. The significance of tension for cellular function was highlighted by Professor Karen in her article, Membrane Tension Leads to Weight. Abnormal muscle tension or loss of contractility due to neuronal loss or nerve delamination impairs the brain's capacity to generate appropriate motor output. Sustained abnormal muscle tension influences membrane potential, ion exchange, and DNA activity, resulting in atrophy, increased fatigue, decreased nerve conduction, reduced blood supply, and many other complications. Increased tension can cause contracture of muscles and tendons, as well as adverse changes in joint or spine structures, illustrating the principle that impaired function reshapes structure. Motor rehabilitation uses existing abnormal movement patterns, and for this reason, use alone is insufficient to normalize muscle tone. Manual examination of muscle tone delivers impressions instead of facts and does not disclose. That's why the diagnostics looks so sad. Examined with palpation, muscle tone is often considered as decreased. sEMG reveals that decrease is the ability to generate proper tension during contraction, but resting tone is increased. Many definitions of muscle tone omit the method of its assessment and the significant influence of multiple factors. This is why it is important to properly define and objectively assess muscle tone. To enhance clarity regarding muscle tension, I suggest the following definition. Muscle tension is a time-varying value of action potentials recorded in muscles, expressed in microvolts and objectively measurable using electromyography. It depends on the functional state of the neural pathways, the method of activation of muscle tension regulation centers in brain and spinal cord, environmental conditions, muscle physiology, and the psycho-emotional state of the person. For assessment and visualization of muscle tone, I use a low-level EMG. It allows for a range of tone registration from 2/10 up to 2000 microvolts, and very high sensitivity on only 1/10 microvolt, and high accuracy, only 4% deviation from real value. It's equipped with visualization software and biofeedback aids. Since muscle tone is affected by many factors, I employ a dynamic sEMG. Dynamic sEMG means assessment of muscle tone in seated and supine position with or without spine support in lumbar, thoracic, or neck area, before and after different therapeutic interventions. This approach enables a comparative analysis of how these interventions modulates the brain strategies for generating muscle tension and highlight the potential for improvement, as evidenced by objective measures. Dynamic sEMG offers exciting insights and actionable conclusions grounded in neuroplastic changes occurring in real time. Static EMG identifies the issue. Dynamic sEMG enables the registration of key functional parameters that cannot be identified in another way. Dynamic sEMG provides insight into the functional state of neuromuscular activity that static methods, such as MRI, CT, or EMG, often fail to detect, mobilizes the brain potential through wire, and guides it into harmony, because thoughts can change the structure of the brain. Dynamic sEMG accelerates the implementation of targeted treatment and reduces both investments and overall cost. The goal was to improve brain control over muscle tension by stretching of paravertebral muscles or activating synaptic connections through electrostimulation and biofeedback. On this electromyogram, we may observe on the left very high and unstable resting tone of tibialis anterior muscle recorded in the supine position in a patient with foot drop. MRI ruled out nerve root compression caused by intervertebral disc. On the right, only 5 minutes of paravertebral lumbar stretching with a rehabilitation roller proved a decreasance of compression. Stretching allowed a decrease in muscle tension from over 52 to only 2 microvolts. Elevated muscle resting tone is the brain's response to physical or psychological trauma. It can impede physiological recovery, while low resting tone facilitates cellular regeneration, tissue repair, and metabolic restoration. These processes can be activated through low-frequency FES and EMG Biofeedback, which help the brain learn to regulate optimal muscle tension. Emotional engagement and motor control taps into a primal driver of recovery, the survival instinct. This is, on this electromyogram on the left, we may observe initial maximal involuntary contraction test in the person with sphincter paralysis due to Cowder-Quinn syndrome. The therapy and the investigation was made with use of rectal electrode. And on the right, the same test repeated after therapy, 5 minutes ETS and 10 minutes EMG biofeedback. Both tests were performed using maximum force. However, during therapy, the patient was asked to focus on precision rather than stretch. This led to significant improvement. Activity increased from 13 to 20 microvolts, and ability to relaxation improved from 3 to 1 microvolts. It is very important to have good relaxation in sphincters while defecation. After 6 weeks of home therapy, constipation disappeared. So when the patient focuses on the task rather than on the problem, the brain facilitates resolution. This is a monitoring of reinnervation in a comparison of changes in muscle tone in a person after reconstruction of the severed radiogram. On the left, muscle tone measured in the initial hand elevation test was only 0.2 microvolts, so 100 flaccid paralysis. 6 months of FES EMS home therapy up to 4 hours resulted in an amplitude increase up to 4.5 microvolts. However, it still is sufficient for visible movement, but enough to introduce EMG biofeedback. Showing patients facts as the results of the functional improvement provides important emotional support and is crucial because their emotional states enhance the neuronal environment and promote neuroplasticity. Documented results speaks louder than explanations. After 18 months of FES EMS and EMG biofeedback home therapy, the muscle tone reached over 19 microvolts, allowing for a slight hand elevation. Following 4 years of therapy, muscle tone during contraction increased to 100 microvolts, which enabled functional recovery. A damaged nervous system misinterprets inputs like try harder, reinforcing maladaptive motor patterns. Concentrating on accuracy instead of strength proves much more effective. Successful innovation requires high repetition training with tension and strength adapted to physiological conditions. FES and DMS deliver stable muscle tension pattern, while dynamic sEMG facilitates precise selection of stimulation parameters and therapeutic actions. Combining different therapies is crucial, as each addresses different aspects of treatment. Final conclusions: objective assessment of muscle tone is possible only with EMG. FES and EMG biofeedback helps normalize muscle tone and the release of key neurotropic factors, vascular endothelial growth factor, brain neurotropic factor, nerve growth factor, demonstrated significantly greater efficacy than standard motor rehabilitation alone. Visualization of muscle activity engages the brain in plastic changes. A Polish neurobiologist, Professor Jerzy Betulani, once said, "The brain was not designed for thinking. It's a primary organ of survival." By using dynamic sEMG, FES and EMG biofeedback, we can empower the brain to fulfill this fundamental task and have significantly more patients recover. Thank you.